Content warning. The following video contains material that may be harmful or traumatizing to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Just when you thought you could turn your back and walk away, the dark cloud of human indignity follows you. You have no choice but to turn and look it in the eye. It's the Sex Offender Hitlist.
Broken homes, broken lives, names behind polite disguise. Could be a smile, could be a badge, could be a hand that hides the scratch. You learn too late, you read the signs, the damage keeps its own time. But I see the mess, I see the crack, and I won't look back. No more silence in the hall, no more shadows on the wall. Every lie gets cut down clean, every sick excuse breaks me. The chipper is made for you, the chipper will chew on you. Every mask comes off, every lie gets crushed. The chipper is made for you, the chipper will chew on you. We protect the scared, we drag truth into air. The church pew, classroom badger suit. Any room can hide the bruise. Any voice can learn to preach, then leave a child too far to reach. So mark the hand and name the shame. Don't let power wash the blame. Call it out, make it plain, break the chain. No more silence in the hall, no more shadows on the wall. Every lie gets cut down clean, every sick excuse breaks me. The white chipper laughs at you, the chipper will shred you too. Every mask comes off, every lie gets crushed. Justice comes for you, the chipper will lead you to. We protect the scared, we drag truth into air. Let the guilty face the light, let the hunted sleep tonight. Not with fists, not with flame, we bring proof, we speak names. Let the courts and the sirens move, let the whole dark network lose. What they took won't disappear, but the reckoning is here. Justice comes for you, the chipper will lead you to. Every mask comes off, every lie gets crushed. Justice comes for you. Justice comes for you. We protect the scared, we drag truth into air. Stand up, speak up, no more fear. Justice lives here.
And new on Sunrise, an 80-year-old convicted child molester is back in the Vanderburgh County Jail on more child molestation charges. According to Miller Johnson's arrest affidavit, 4 juvenile victims say he sexually touched them at his at-home daycare. The interviews happened last month, and the victims say the incidents happened between 2012 and 2016. Authorities say during an interview at Holly's house, Johnson admitted to it, and back in 2016, Johnson was arrested and later convicted for molesting other children at the same daycare. He's being held without bond.
A Northern Kentucky man is facing charges after police say they found hundreds of files containing child porn.
Our Alexis Martin spoke with the Kenton County Commonwealth's attorney about the disturbing allegations made against James McClain. Alexis in the studio now with us with more.
That's right. Kenton County Commonwealth's attorney Rob Sanders tells me that McClain was sharing the child sex abuse material he found on the internet with others. And in an interview with police today, McClain admitted to paying a child in the Philippines $300 per month for the material. James McClain is being held in the Kenton County Detention Center after he was arrested earlier today. Kenton County Commonwealth's attorney Rob Sanders says law enforcement was alerted after suspected child pornography was uploaded to a Verizon account registered to McClain.
Investigation recovered hundreds of images of child sexual assault material within that Verizon account.
According to the police report, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children flagged 457 files of suspected child abuse material being uploaded to McClain's Verizon account. At the time the Independence police report was made, investigators had reviewed 50 of those files, and police say 10 of the victims are believed to be under the age of 12. McClain is currently facing 3 charges, but Sanders says more could be filed.
McClain was interviewed by the Independence police, and he admitted to receiving or actually paying a 15-year-old child for images of child sexual assault material.
According to the report, McClain told police the 15-year-old lives in the Philippines. Investigators say McClain told them he was paying the teen and her 25-year-old sister $300 a month for the material and then sharing it online. Sanders says it's impossible for police to monitor everything online, and many cases start with tips from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. He says improving technology is helping investigators track down suspects and prosecute them.
We are very good once we get the evidence at proving who it was that owned the account, who was accessing the account, where they were when it happened. And I think our results speak for themselves in terms of lengthy sentences, usually in the dozens or hundreds of years in prison.
McClain is set to be arraigned tomorrow, and Sanders says more charges in this case could be coming as the investigation is ongoing. Reporting in studio, I'm Alexis Martin, Fox 19 Now.
A Chicopee sex offender is back behind bars tonight, accused of trying to arrange a meeting with 2 young children while on probation and wearing a GPS monitor. Thanks for joining us for Western Mass News at 6 on this Wednesday. I'm Amanda Martin-Ryan. Western Mass News reporter Reagan Locree is live in studio tonight to explain how he ever got out and why the district attorney says the system let children down. Reagan.
That's right, Amanda. Edgar Del Valle had already been convicted of crimes against children. He had already served time in prison, and the district attorney says the sentence that put him there wasn't long enough to begin with.
He was wearing a GPS ankle monitor, he was on probation, and investigators say he was still trying to arrange a meeting with an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. Edgar Del Valle is a 47-year-old registered level 3 sex offender from Chicopee. Undercover investigators from New Jersey tracked his online communications on a classified platform, then coordinated with Massachusetts State Police. Del Valle was arrested at a West Springfield motel on April 17th without incident. This is not the first time. In 2018, Del Valle was arrested after arranging to meet a woman for the purpose of engaging in sexual acts involving her young child. Investigators recovered child sexual abuse material from his phone. In 2021, he pleaded guilty in Hampden Superior Court to multiple charges involving the sexual exploitation of minors. The DA pushed for 10 years. The judge gave 7 to 8. Del Valle was released in January of last year under probation. He was required to wear a GPS monitor and have no unsupervised contact with children. Investigators say he violated both.
Children, by definition, are innocent, right? These kids are being exploited. They're being harmed not only now in ways that no child should ever experience, but it's affecting their lives forever.
The DA says his office lost the fight for a longer sentence the first time, but he assured the public Wednesday they won't stop fighting.
There is no victory. There's no finish line to any of these cases. In fact, statistically, these cases are on the rise. These predators are constantly searching for new ways to perform their craft and to go about their craft, and this is a pursuit, and it's a relentless pursuit by law enforcement with our prosecutors to ensure that we are continuing to work down every lead.
Devallier is now held without bail on a probation violation. On the new charges, including trafficking and enticement of a child, bail is set at $250,000. He is due back in court May 20th. The district attorney says this investigation is still ongoing, but tonight his message is clear. The system is only as strong as the sentences it hands down, and when those sentences fall short, it is children who pay the price. Now reporting live in the studio, Reagan Locre.
An Iowa man arrested on child exploitation charges after allegedly fleeing to the other side of the world learned his fate today. A federal judge sentenced Trevor Collison from Little Sioux, Iowa, to 50 years in prison. Now, back in 2024, Collison was indicted on child exploitation charges. Investigators recovered his laptop, but could not find him. U.S. Marshals later found that he had fled to the South Pacific, with stops in Singapore and Malaysia. Investigators say the U.S. Marshal caught up to Collison in Indonesia as he tried to renew his visa. He was arrested in early 2025 and sent back to Iowa to face trial.
A Bay District Schools employee was arrested and is now facing multiple charges for possession of child pornography. BDS confirmed Gary Edward George Jr. worked as a custodian at Northside Elementary. The Panama City Police Department says his arrest is the result of an ongoing investigation. Police say evidence was collected from a home on Grace Avenue after authorities received information that George possessed illegal images. He was taken into custody and booked into the Bay County Jail. Bay District Schools released a statement following the arrest that says in part, quote, "We want to assure our families and community that the safety and well-being of our students remain our highest priorities. We take any allegations involving staff seriously and are fully cooperating with law enforcement." You can read that full statement on our website, wjhg.com.
An Avondale teacher's aide is in custody tonight, accused of having a sexual relationship with an 8th grade student.
Fox 10's Megan Spector joins us live now in Avondale with more on this case. Megan.
Well, we do know that 22-year-old Yesenia Rodriguez, she was a teacher's aide here at Sun Valley Academy. We did go by her home earlier today, and family members there told us that she is still in custody. They said they haven't heard from her since her arrest, and they didn't know anything about this relationship, but it was actually the student's stepmom who reported it first.
Please say your name and date of birth. Yesenia Rodriguez, August 13, 2003.
22-year-old Yesenia Rodriguez is accused of having a sexual relationship with a 15-year-old 8th grader. Known as Nia to the student, she was a teacher's aide at Sun Valley Academy in Avondale.
You're here today on a new matter. It is alleging that you committed 1 count luring a minor for sexual exploitation. That is a Class 4 felony, and 4 counts sexual conduct with a minor. That is also a Class 4 felony.
Court documents say the 8th grader noted having sex with Rodriguez 3 times. About 2 weeks after the first time, Rodriguez told the student she was pregnant and contemplating abortion. The victim stated Rodriguez repeatedly told him not to tell anyone and said they would both be in a lot of trouble if anyone found out. Ultimately, the student's stepmom did, who then told the school, who reported to police. A statement on behalf of Sun Valley Academy says they are aware of this allegation involving a, quote, former employee. They said they are fully cooperating with the police investigation.
You are not to return to the scene of the alleged crime or have any contact with the alleged victim, witnesses, or complainants. You may not have any contact with minors. You may also not use the internet except for your pending legal case and work.
Police paperwork says that after being arrested, Rodriguez admitted to her involvement in the matter. She says she gained emotional feelings for the victim and discussed creating a family together when he turns 18 in 3 years. It also claims Rodriguez told police she knew what she was doing was wrong and even advised the victim to delete their messages because she was afraid of going to jail. And the Avondale Police Department says the investigation into Yesenia's pregnancy is ongoing. They do not believe that any other students are involved. We're live tonight in Avondale. Megan Spector, Fox 10 News.
Next, one of Texas' most wanted sex offenders is in custody after investigators learned that he was living near a public. 49-year-old Spencer Giron is a registered sex offender in Texas. Police say that he was approaching children and offering them money to go shopping in Westlake. Giron had an outstanding warrant from the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office for failure to register as a sex offender. Investigators discovered that he was living less than 1,000 feet from a public school in Westlake and again had failed to register. So he faces the following counts: unlawful presence of a sex offender, failure to register and notify as a sex offender or child predator, and second offense, failure to register and notify as a sex offender or child predator.
The convicted sex offender will be released in Chippewa Falls soon. According to police, Richard Holbert will be homeless when he is released Saturday, May 2nd. Holbert was convicted in 2018 of second-degree sexual assault of a child in Chippewa County. Conditions of his release include GPS monitoring and no unsupervised contact with minors.
The surprised man is in custody after investigators say a cyber tip launched a child porn investigation in Rusk County. The North Texas Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force alerted deputies to the tip. Investigators were able to secure a warrant for 35-year-old Christopher Smith II. He was arrested Tuesday at his home, where authorities also carried out a search warrant and seized multiple items now being processed as evidence. Smith is being held on a $65,000 bond.
A new market man already on the sex offender registry is facing new charges this afternoon. Investigators with the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force say a cyber tip involving child sexual abuse material led to the arrest of 33-year-old Justin Bursch. Now, authorities charged Bursch with aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, along with several violations of the Tennessee Sex Offender Registry. He is being held in the Jefferson County Detention Center.
Story number 2. A hearing just wrapped up for singer David in his first-degree murder case.
The prosecution revealed details about disturbing digital evidence. Let's get to CBS LA's Rick Montanez with what we learned in court today. Rick, what are you hearing?
Amy, Chris, the hearing just wrapped up within the half hour here, and cameras were not allowed in court, but I can tell you that the defendant, David Burke, was in court today in shackles and wearing that orange jumpsuit. The biggest new piece of evidence revealed, prosecutors say a significant amount of child porn found on Burke's cell phone. We also want to point out that this all happens one day after the medical examiner's report became public. That is the report on the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The report says, or I should say the family of Rivas Hernandez is absolutely devastated to learn the gruesome details contained in that write-up. That's according to a family statement. So this report says the 14-year-old girl died of sharp force trauma, but the autopsy was difficult because of the severe decomposition of her dismembered body when it was found in the singer's abandoned Tesla last September. Officials say she died 5 months earlier in April of last year. Burke, the suspect known by his stage name David, was arrested last Thursday. On Monday, he pled not guilty to the capital murder charges. We spoke with a former federal prosecutor just a short time ago here on CBS LA Mornings about this new evidence revealed in today's hearing and the fact that David's phone, according to prosecutors, contains child porn.
And obviously, we don't know if it's Celeste Rivas's images and videos or something else, but that is a significant offense. Obviously, it helps prosecutors prove the sex crimes, the lewd and lascivious, Penal Code Section 288, but it's also a separate crime in and of itself, and it's certainly the possibility that the feds even step into this case because they typically will prosecute these types of child pornography cases.
And we also learned from prosecutors that there is a large amount of digital data that needs to be processed and shared as evidence with the defense. So there is a lot that will happen as this case moves forward, but it will be back in court. Both sides will be back in court on April 29th next week so they can get an update on where they stand with evidence, whether they need more time to prepare for a potential capital murder trial. Also worth noting, today's date, April 23rd, it marks the 1 year since Celeste Rivas Hernandez was last seen alive. Reporting live in downtown Los Angeles, Rick Montanez, CBS LA.
Yeah, the details of this case become more and more disturbing. Okay, Rick, thank you for that update.
A Davis-Monthan airman is in Pima County Jail accused of having thousands of child porn images after a police investigation. Tucson police say this man right here, 37-year-old Carl Streets, was arrested at his home on the base and then booked on 10 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. Tucson police tell us detectives found thousands of images and videos on his devices. Police go on to say more charges could come as they keep looking at that evidence. In the meantime, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base releasing a statement on Street's arrest. They say the arrest is part of a joint investigation between the Air Force Office of Special Investigations and Tucson Police. No further details have been released as that investigation is still underway, and questions are being directed to the Tucson Police Department.
A Seneca man is now accused of child sex crimes and incest. Luis Mateo was arrested after a young girl gave birth in the hospital parking lot. During the investigation, Oconee County deputies say they discovered Mateo had sexual intercourse with the victim over a 3-year period. Mateo is now charged with 3 counts of criminal sexual conduct with a minor and 1 count of incest. We're told the minor and child are now in protective custody and they are safe. The sheriff's office says an ICE detainer has been placed on Mateo.
Breaking at noon, the Nebraska State Patrol arrests a Millard Public Schools teacher as part of a child exploitation investigation. NSP says around 6:15 this morning, they served a warrant for 47-year-old Matthew Lund. They placed Lund under arrest. He's now in the Douglas County Jail. Lund faces charges of child sex abuse material and distributing that material. At this point, investigators do not believe any students are victims in the case. They ask anyone with information to call 402-479-4049.
First of all, in Vanderburgh County, deputies say a man has been caught with dozens of child porn images. 20-year-old Hayden Dodson is accused of showing child porn to a child. Deputies say they found 70 pictures and videos of child sexual abuse material on Dodson's cell phone. They say 86 more were found in his computer. Dodson was booked into jail without bond.
Former assistant principal of a North Las Vegas high school will spend at least 8 years in prison for forcing students to perform sex acts.
And the parents of the victims testifying in court today that their children will forever be traumatized. 8 News Now education reporter Joshua Peguero on this story. He was there. Joshua, this man's career in education is now seemingly over.
Yes, over for Harley Smith, who has 2 PhDs and worked at Canyon Springs High School, but the 55-year-old's career took a severe tumble as students came forward that they were sexually assaulted in his office.
This is a huge fall from grace for a man with 2 PhDs, highly educated.
A fall from grace is how Hurley Smith's attorney was rationalizing to the judge why his client, an assistant principal at Canyon Springs High School, is now in court. Smith was hoping to get probation after pleading guilty last year to performing sex acts on 1 student and groping 2 others. But Clark County Deputy District Attorney Morgan Lombardo asked the judge for the max, and here's why.
He can't even admit to what he did, regardless of the fact that he pled guilty to it. He calls these false accusations, calls these young men liars.
Prosecutors say Smith pulled the 15-year-old victim out of class 131 times within a school year and then manipulated CCSD's attendance system to make it seem as the student was present. The victim told investigators he and Smith had at least 10 sexual encounters. In court, Smith apologized to the victims but remained steadfast in his belief that the accusations are false.
Plus, we did not put them a trial. None of those things that's been stated are not actually accurate.
2 family members spoke to Clark County District Court Judge Erica Mendoza about the trauma their child endured, including Carlon Jackson, father of one of the victims.
The man standing before you abused his position in the worst possible way. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern of behavior, calculated, intentional, and targeted at children who depend on him for safety.
After hearing from those 2 victim speakers, Judge Erica Mendoza sentenced Smith to 8 to 20 years in prison. About a year and a half ago, another Canyon Springs staffer, Devin Hudson, was sentenced for child sex crimes. In that case, Judge Mendoza gave Hudson 2 years of probation. Brian?
Now, once he is released from prison, Hurley Smith will have lifetime supervision as a sex offender. David?
For the latest on this and other stories, visit 8newsnow.com and tune into our live newscasts on Channel 8 every day at 6 and 11 p.m. or weekdays from 4 to 7 a.m.
Well, a former Bradenton police officer is in jail this morning, accused in a child abuse case. The Bradenton Police Department says 29-year-old Nicholas Lehman was fired after he was arrested Wednesday. Investigators say the allegations involve an off-duty incident with a child that he knew. He's now being held in the Manatee County Jail and will be moved to Hillsborough County as this investigation continues. In a statement, Bradenton police say, in part, quote, "It does expect all members, both on and off duty, to uphold the highest standards of conduct," saying the allegations are unacceptable.
A former Parkersburg South high school teacher is facing up to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to charges of sexual abuse. Our Chase Campbell has the details.
Dwayne Sponseller entered an Alford plea to 2 counts of sexual abuse in the first degree on Monday, the day his trial was set to begin in the Wood County Circuit Court, according to the clerk of Judge J.D. Bean. Under an Alford plea, the defendant enters a guilty plea while denying their guilt, but acknowledges that there is enough evidence that going to trial would likely result in a conviction. Wood County Assistant Prosecutor Russ Skogstad said he was glad to come to a plea that was agreeable to the victims.
The victims were all consulted or on board, and the investigating officer was, so I don't have to put people through the uncertainty of a trial.
Skogstad said any gratification that might be taken from the guilty plea is tempered by the fact that the legal outcome does little to reduce the harm the victims suffered.
What I've learned in the 20-some years of doing this is there's very little that I can do or that the state can do that can ever make up for what has happened to a child.
Skogstad declined to comment on the specifics of the case, as Sponseller is still awaiting sentencing, but said that the state would seek the maximum sentence. Sponseller faces 1 to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000 for each of the felony counts. He will also be placed on the West Virginia Sex Offender Registry for life and could be put under supervised release for up to 50 years after being released from prison. Sponseller was indicted on a total of 16 counts in September of 2024, including 7 other counts of sexual abuse in the first degree and 7 counts of sexual abuse by a parent, guardian, or custodian. Sponseller's sentencing is scheduled for July 24th at 9 a.m. In Parkersburg, Chase Campbell, WTAP News.
Sponseller was suspended without pay from his position at Parkersburg South High School shortly after he was charged in 2024. According to Wood County Schools Superintendent Christy Willis, the Wood County Board of Education voted to formally approve his termination during its meeting tonight.
Omaha police arrest a man accused of trafficking a 15-year-old foster child. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bill Sherman.
I'm Julie Cornell. Investigators tell us Michael Castillo is the 4th suspect in this case. KETV News Watch 7's Beth Carlson joins us here in the studio with the new details we're uncovering.
Julie, Bill, a criminal affidavit alleges Michael Castillo drove from Scottsbluff to Omaha in 2022 after agreeing to pay for sex. A judge set his bond at $1 million this week.
Douglas County prosecutors say in February of 2022, Michael Castillo drove to this Super 8 motel in Omaha off 72nd and Spring Road. 4 years later, Omaha police arrested him for alleged child sex trafficking.
The same hotel in Omaha, right in the middle of town, happened right here.
It's the 4th arrest in this case. Michael Reese of Omaha pleaded guilty to federal charges for sex trafficking in 2024. In court documents, Reese is alleged to have sold the 15-year-old foster child to other men for profit. Douglas County prosecutors charged 2 other alleged buyers, Shah Barami and Luis Luciano Velez.
The orchestrator, the trafficker, was being charged federally, indicted there. That took some time, but also the investigation itself. Once you uncover one thing, you start to find more.
In recovered text messages, Castillo agreed to pay $200 for sex.
The allegations are very serious. It's a minor, and he traveled from across the state to, get this done, and so he's a danger to the public.
The U.S. Attorney's Office says that victim was a runaway from her foster home placement. She later told officers she begged Reese for money from the transactions to buy food, which Reese refused.
This victim in particular, she's going to have a hard life ahead of her. And, it is tragic. So we take these very seriously.
We've also reached out to DHHS on more information on the foster status of that 15-year-old victim at this time.
Talking about status, what's the status of the 3 other suspects involved?
So Reese is kind of the organizer of this crime, and he's currently serving life in prison for this case
in on a fentanyl conviction for the death of a 4-year-old. Now, another suspect is awaiting trial, and a third will be sentenced in June. Castillo will be back before a judge next month.
This morning, a Gainesville man faces 400 new charges of child exploitation, a crime he was already behind bars for in Hall County. 32-year-old Benjamin Goodmunson was arrested last year after investigators received 2 tips about his possible online behavior from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. These new charges stem from what investigators found on his cell phone and computer, where he allegedly kept hundreds of images and videos depicting a minor in a sexual situation. He's being held without bond.
Now calling case 26S0003 FY. This is going to be the People versus Nelson Otto Rocky. Appearances, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tina Ripley on behalf of the people, P83688.
Good morning, Ms. Ripley.
Good morning, Your Honor. Andrew Moxie, P number 69568, court-appointed attorney for arraignment purposes only.
Do you have the defendant with us as well?
Yeah, sure.
Name for the record. I think he's on mute. Could somebody unmute him?
Nelson Rowe.
Your name for the record, sir.
Nelson Rowe.
All right, Mr. Roque. Today's date and time scheduled for your arraignments. I see that the court has appointed attorney Andrew Moxie for you. Have you had the chance to speak with Mr. Moxie?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Moxie, was it adequate time for you to speak with Mr. Roque?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Roque, you have a right to remain silent during all stages of this proceeding. You also have a right to a preliminary exam. Additionally, you have a right for a lawyer to represent you during any questioning at all stages of this proceeding. Are you going to be hiring your own attorney, or would you need the court to appoint an attorney for you?
I may be hiring an attorney, but we had the court appoint one at this time.
Okay. You'll consent to Mr. Moxie standing in for purposes of your arraignment?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, somebody else.
Yes.
Talking. Thank you. Mr. Roque, you've been charged with 26 different counts under a felony complaint. Mr. Moxie, have you reviewed these charges with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Would you like a formal reading of the complaint?
Judge, we waive formal reading. My client will remain silent. We'd ask the court to kindly enter a plea of not guilty at this time.
I will waive formal reading and enter a plea of not guilty. Mr. Roque, as mentioned before, you have certain rights in this matter, including your right to have a trial and a trial by a judge or a jury. You also have a right to have a preliminary examination within 21 days of the date of your arraignments. And at that hearing, the prosecutor would have to establish there's probable cause to believe that each and every one of these offenses was committed by you, and that each and every one of the elements of the offense, where there's probable cause to believe, were committed. So at this point in time, I am going to address the issue as to bond. We'll start off with the prosecuting attorney.
Yes, thank you, Judge. People are going to ask for $1 million cash surety, no 10%. This case it's more than just him viewing CSAM online. He did more than just that. Created it by putting faces of himself and family members on images of children engaging in sexual acts. He engaged with others online, receiving and distributing CSAM images, and even shared secretly captured videos of him and his ex-wife, videos and images of his ex-wife in sexual acts for nude photos and created a webpage where he shared them. I think he's a danger to society in doing these acts, being that he's doing just more than looking things up and viewing them. He's actually creating them. I do think he is a flight risk. He is an attorney, and so I believe that would render him at least financial status and potential connections. We would also ask for conditions of bond in that there be no electronics except for work or communication with his attorney, no contact with anyone 17 or under without supervision or permission by their parent or guardian, specifically no contact with his ex-wife, and then various children with whom there were potential images of their faces, not nude images of them, but him using their faces to put on other children. I can list, if he is released, we would request a GPS tether. And then, Judge, I do think he is, from my knowledge, he's not even allowed to have contact with his children's school. He was not allowed there. And so he's actually banned from there, and there's a fear by his family members based on the various threats that have been made in the past. So I would ask again for $1 million cash charity, no 10%, and the various conditions as stated.
Thank you, Mr. Moxie.
Judge, I did have a chance to speak with my client, and he's currently unemployed. His housing situation is limited. Most recently, he was at a skilled nursing facility in Harper Woods. He seems to be having some severe heart conditions, currently in the hospital this morning. I would simply ask the court to consider a 10% provision and a no objection to a GPS tether.
Mr. Moxie, is your client currently on probation, parole, or bond with any other court?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mr. Roque, are you on any bond conditions or probation with any other court?
Probation at Bruce Park Farms.
When considering bond, it is the job of this court to consider the severity of the charges, protection of the public during the pendency of this matter, and your likelihood to return to court. Mr. Roque, I have to say I'm very concerned with these charges as alleged in the complaint. We have multiple 25-year felonies, multiple 15-year felonies, and these are all aggravated charges. I'm also concerned with the fact that these charges are alleged to have committed during a period of time of which you are currently on probation to the city of Grosse Pointe Farms. So I'm concerned with protecting the public, and I'm also concerned with your likelihood of appearing for future proceedings. Based upon those concerns, it will be the order of the court that bond will be set in the amount of $1 million cash or surety, no 10%. In the event that you are able to post bond, Mr. Roque, it will be ordered of the court that you are not to have any contact with any minors under the age of 18. You are to surrender your passports. You are to surrender all devices that have cameras on them, including your cell phone. If you need to communicate with your attorney or other individuals, you can do so from a dumb phone, which is a phone without a camera. It will be the order of the court that you are not allowed access to any device capable of internet usage. Additionally, in the event that bond is posted, you need to be released on a GPS tether. I will grant the prosecutor's request with no contact. Mr. Roque, you're to have no contact with your ex-wife, and you're to have no contact with the other victims that are alleged by the prosecuting attorney in this matter. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, this matter is going to be scheduled for a preliminary examination. And as mentioned, that examination needs to occur within 21 days of today's date. Today's date being, preliminary examination is going to be scheduled for May 13th, 2026 at 9 a.m. Preceding that date, you will have a probable cause conference. That probable cause conference will be scheduled on May 6th, 2026 at 9 a.m. One last time, any other questions? Okay, that concludes this matter for today. Thank you.
Noon, a former Kansas City, Kansas firefighter is now facing 7 federal child pornography charges. Here's what we know so far. A grand jury has indicted Devin Rich on 6 counts of distribution of child pornography and 1 count of possession. Prosecutors say the crimes happened over a 2-week period back in June of 2022. KCK Fire says Rich was separated from the department in 2020. He was previously accused of sexual exploitation of a minor in an undercover case back in 2018. Rich is currently behind bars in Lynn County with a federal detention hearing set for next week on April 27th.
A woman charged with child exploitation and possession of child sexual abuse material.
As Fox 59's Jesse Wells explains, prosecutors believe the suspect shared explicit pictures of a child to grow her OnlyFans account.
According to court records, after police came to the suspect's home here behind me to serve a search warrant last month, she asked for an attorney and refused to talk about the case. But prosecutors claim the investigation began last year following a report by the Department of Child Services. Anyone who believes a child is being abused or exploited is urged to contact the state's hotline. According to court records, a tip to DCS led to 8 felony charges being filed this week against 41-year-old Elizabeth Creekmore. The DCS report alleged that Creekmore operated an online adult content account, and she involved a juvenile in the creation of content intended to attract adult subscribers. Specifically, prosecutors believe Creekmore ran an OnlyFans page and allegedly tried to generate income and attract adult males by taking sexually explicit pictures of a young girl who was only 5 and 6 years old at the time, and then shared those illegal images online.
Abuse by trusted adults is common and especially devastated. So many child abuse cases involve someone the child already knew.
Genevieve Meyer with the Indiana Trafficking Victims Assistance Program says keeping kids safe from online sexual exploitation involves everyone working together, including police and prosecutors. In this case, when police came to the suspect's home last month, her husband claimed he wasn't involved in his wife's OnlyFans account and didn't share any information about the allegations.
Most often, the most dangerous offender is often the one that has access, trust, and control, and not necessarily a stranger online. So that's why it's good for other people to be looking out and involved in a child's life.
In fact, the allegations against Creekmore illustrate the importance of reporting suspicious activity involving young kids to authorities.
And remember, it's not your job to prove it or investigate it. It's your just job that if you suspect or you think something is off, go ahead and make that report. We would rather be safe than sorry, and then let the professionals take it from there.
Finally, an arrest warrant for Creekmore was issued today. Her bond has been set at $100,000.
Kentucky Attorney General Russell Coleman is updating the framework to combat child sexual abuse.
This as the Commonwealth is seeing an increase in the number of child sexual abuse cases.
Allie Henner joins us with more.
Yeah, Rob, Tricia, that's right. So this new manual for law enforcement and other entities was announced during a press conference today in Frankfurt. So the guidance was revised for the first time since 2021. The new protocol booklet is another tool for speeding up the process of investigating and prosecuting child sexual abuse cases.
The model protocol is a guide for local multidisciplinary teams of professionals on how to work together to achieve the best outcome for children when there are concerns of child sexual abuse and human trafficking involving children.
The new protocol announced Wednesday now clearly lays out when a child needs to receive medical examinations and instructs multidisciplinary teams around the state on how to ensure child survivors don't have to repeat their stories over and over.
It's about collaborating. It's about tearing down silos. It's about eliminating bureaucracy where we can. And it is about minimizing secondary trauma to these young child victims.
The handbook contains graphic sections, but experts who compiled it said the content is appropriate to help law enforcement and other agencies achieve the proper outcome for the child.
It's horrifying in what it describes, but it also is there to speed this process to, again, mitigate harm to our kids, to ensure that there is a coordinated response and we're moving efficiently, effectively.
According to the Attorney General's office, Kentucky is seeing a drastic increase in the number of child sexual abuse cases.
From July 2024 to July 2025, local teams at these 15 child advocacy centers here in the Commonwealth reviewed almost 7,800 new cases, 7,700 new cases of child sexual abuse. This is a 29% increase year over year.
The new modernized blueprint is now being used by all 15 regional children's advocacy centers throughout Kentucky, serving all Kentucky's 120 counties. So again, a significant increase in those cases that the state is seeing. It took over a year for members of this commission to compile this blueprint. Law enforcement agencies and others involved in investigating and responding to child sexual abuse will be trained in this upgraded guidance. For now, in studio, Allie Hennard, Fox 19 Now.
Was arrested accused of having and sharing child pornography online. The Webb County Sheriff's Office took Luis Alberto Torres Garcia into custody yesterday. The Cyber Crimes Unit started a months-long investigation when they got a tip that someone was distributing child sex abuse material through social media. Garcia was identified as a suspect, and based on an interview and other evidence, they arrested him on child porn charges. The case remains under investigation as well.
New this morning, a local man was sentenced for receiving child pornography. Clint Lane Lusk of Pocatello was sentenced yesterday to 11 years in federal prison. Court documents say in November of 2024, the FBI and the Idaho Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force conducted an undercover operation. Lusk made contact with an undercover officer posing as a 13-year-old girl on the Whisper messaging app. He proposed meeting to engage in sexual intercourse at a hotel in Pocatello. Officers arrested Lusk when he arrived. A forensic review of his phone uncovered over 52,000 images of child sexual abuse. Lusk pleaded guilty to receiving child porn on October 21st.
A Sanford man accused of sexually assaulting a 9-year-old child was just arrested after running from police for years.
Back in 2021, Cody Smart didn't show up to court to face charges of gross sexual assault and solicitation of a child. Police say they worked for years to locate him until officials finally tracked him down at a home in Limerick and found him hiding, they say, in a bedroom inside. He is now being held at the York County Jail with a bail set at $25,000.
We have an update on a safety alert after the arrest of a man who is considered to be a trusted member of the community in Miami-Dade County.
He's been arrested again on lewd and lascivious conduct charges. Local 10's Leanne Morejon is live in Miami with the details. Leanne.
A religious leader, a voice in the Jewish community locally here in South Florida. He's now behind bars again after being arrested for a charge very similar to one he was arrested for just about a month ago. Shia Lunger, he also goes by the name Yona, arrested Monday on charges of lewd and lascivious conduct on a minor under 16 and lewd and lascivious conduct on a minor between the ages of 12 and 16. He appeared in bond court this morning where he was ordered held on a $10,000 bond. Here's what we're learning from his latest warrant. A now 19-year-old woman who lives in Israel recently came forward to detectives here in Miami-Dade County after learning about Lunger's arrest last month. That warrant says that the victim at the time was 14 years old and that Lunger allegedly placed his hands on the victim's breast over her clothing for about a minute. All of this allegedly happened while she was visiting family here in South Florida in May of 2021. The victim said that before the alleged sexual activity, the inappropriate activity, that Lunger arrived to the home that her family was renting and offered to restock it with items from Publix. So he allegedly took the 14-year-old girl to Publix, made her hold his hand, and made some comments that made her uncomfortable. This is a direct quote from that warrant. It says, quote, "Upon arriving to the victim's family's residence, the defendant continued his inappropriate comments towards the victim by asking her if she recalled all the places he loved and missed her. The defendant then placed his hand on the victim's breast over her clothing for about a minute. The defendant then leaned towards the victim and attempted to kiss her lips. The victim described that she froze, and when she arrived at her family residence, she disclosed the incident to her mother." Here, a prosecutor and his attorney, Bruce Laird, tell the judge what they believe the judge should consider when it comes to bond.
So now we've got a pattern, multiple victims. The state is requesting a bond plus house arrest, as well as an order, no unsupervised contact with children.
I have no objection to the no unsupervised contact with children. With regard to house arrest, he is a rabbi and a crisis counselor, so it would hurt not only him but the community, keep him locked up at home.
So back out live here, records show he has posted bond, but it doesn't seem that he has walked out of the jail just yet. Again, the judge ordered him held on a $10,000 bond. He is also ordered to have no unsupervised interactions with any minors. After that initial arrest, we know that his attorney put out a statement in his defense, essentially saying that the allegations were bogus and that, quote, no good deed goes unpunished. We'll stay on top of this story for you and bring you the very latest as soon as it happens. We're live in West Miami-Dade. I'm Leanne Morejon, Local 10 News.
New tonight, the Meigs County Sheriff's Office says they have arrested a convicted sex offender for crimes against children. The investigation began into William Fink, seen on your screen, after information was developed indicating possible criminal activity. Fink was taken into custody with no problems. He has been charged with pandering obscenities involving a minor. Deputies are asking anyone with information about this case or similar incidents to call their tip line.
Detectives in Bucks County are looking to see if there are any more victims in the case of a man arrested on child rape charges. Police took 31-year-old Brian Williams into custody on Tuesday. He is charged with a repeated sexual assault of an 11-year-old over a 4-year period. The judge refused Williams' bail, saying he poses a threat to the victim and the community.
New tonight, a man on Tennessee's sex offender registry is now charged with child exploitation in Jefferson County. 33-year-old Eric Bursch is from New Market. He has a history of sexual charges dating back to 2011. The sheriff's office says he was charged after a tip to the Internet Crimes Against Children task force.
And a Missouri man who was wanted in Randolph County for the sexual abuse of a minor in 2010 has now been arrested. 51-year-old John Foster II was arrested at his home in Missouri this afternoon. The U.S. Marshals Service in Missouri received a lead from the Northern District of West Virginia on Friday. He was wanted after being accused of sexually abusing a minor at a home in Montrose back in July of 2010. A warrant went out for Foster's arrest that year, but he was unable to be extradited to Randolph County at that time. West Virginia State Police reopened the investigation on April 9th and obtained a new arrest warrant. Foster is charged with first-degree sexual assault. He's now awaiting being returned to Randolph County.
Meantime, a convicted sex offender will not be released on parole under California's elderly parole program. The Board of Parole Hearings reversed its decision on the early release of Israel Sayah, who is serving 139 years for sexually assaulting a child. The reversal comes after the panel's decision drew harsh criticism from both the Yolo County DA's office and Sayah's victim, Roxanne Cruz.
Have you talked to Roxanne? Has she heard this news yet?
So I texted her last night. She was very grateful to hear that news.
Makes you emotional.
It does. These cases are just really, really crazy. Aggravated, brutality. Trauma, the experts will tell you the trauma that these victims go through on these cases is unimaginable, and it's very deep, and a lot of them are just never the same, obviously.
With the decision overturned, a new parole hearing will now have to be scheduled.
A Gladewater man is behind bars tonight after investigators say they uncovered hundreds of images of child sexual abuse material tied to an online account. Gregg County officials say 62-year-old David Blaylock Jr. is being held on a $400,000 bond. Authorities say the case began after a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children led investigators to a Google account linked to multiple images and videos. Investigators later say they confirmed that the account was tied to Blaylock, and a search warrant revealed more than 300 illegal images and several videos involving juvenile victims.
A Hayti man faces multiple charges after an incident over the weekend. It happened Sunday when Steele police were told a child got into a suspicious vehicle. The witness who called them was able to give a description of that vehicle. Police eventually found the child, the suspect, and the vehicle. Police also found meth in the car. The driver, identified as Terrence Vance, was arrested and taken to the Pemiscot County Jail.
A judge sentenced a Rector man to 20 years in prison after he pleaded guilty to possessing child sexual abuse materials. According to court documents, a judge ordered Joseph Parrish to serve 20 years in the Arkansas Department of Corrections with 455 days of jail time credit. He also received 10 years suspended imposition of sentence on 2 of the charges. Parrish must also register as a sex offender upon his release from the ADC.
A watchdog volunteer at Mireles Elementary has been charged with child pornography charges. Now, according to a police report, police arrested Benjamin Milfeld on Wednesday morning in his home. When they searched his pickup truck, they found 2 cell phones. In one of the cell phones, they found videos and images of boys and girls between the ages of 10 and 14 naked and performing sexual acts. Now, we did reach out to CCISD to see if Milfeld is still a volunteer with that watchdog program this school year. We have not heard back. Now, some of the things that these watchdogs do is they help around the school. They can have lunch with their child. They can read to their child's classroom. They can patrol the school, help with pickup and drop off. Now, we have not heard back from CCISD, but this is a developing story, so we'll continue to keep you guys updated on this on ChrisTV.com.
A 30-year-old has been arrested in Sauk County for sexually exploiting a child and possessing child pornography. Andrew Lahai from Sauk City was arrested by Sauk Prairie Police and the Sauk County Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. based on the information they were given from the Wisconsin Department of Justice. When officers searched his home, multiple devices were found to have images of child pornography. This remains an active investigation.
New tonight at 10, a former Temple ISD employee is facing sexual assault of a child. Temple PD says the investigation started in late January and police arrested 26-year-old Jalen Bryant of Temple in the past week. Temple PD says a guardian reported the sexual assault of the child. We heard from Temple ISD, who said Bryant is not a current employee of Temple ISD and hasn't worked with the district since March of last year. Temple ISD also say they were not aware of any inappropriate relationships between Bryant and a student.
Also, an El Paso registered sex offender was arrested yesterday on multiple charges related to registry violations. Check this one out. 47-year-old Jesus Alfredo Cuellar is accused of meeting a 9-year-old child and communicating with that minor using an unregistered phone number. Cuellar also failed to report several required digital identifiers, including a new phone number, social media accounts, and an email address as required under state law for registered sex offenders. He now faces 3 counts of failing to comply with sex offender registration requirements and has a bond set at $100,000 on each charge. That is a pretty penny.
Well, new at 11, detectives are looking for a known sex offender accused of sexually assaulting several victims in a single day. These are images of Damian Robinson here on your screen. Officers say on Sunday he grabbed, groped, or photographed 6 different women in the Northridge and Granada Hills area. Police believe he recorded some of those instances. He does have past conviction as a sex offender, and if you see him, you're asked to contact the LAPD.
New tonight at 10, a former Temple ISD employee is facing sexual assault of a child. Temple PD says the investigation started in late January and police arrested 26-year-old Jalen Bryant of Temple in the past week. Temple PD says a guardian reported the sexual assault of the child. We heard from Temple ISD, who said Bryant is not a current employee of Temple ISD and hasn't worked with the district since March of last year. Temple ISD also say they were not aware of any inappropriate relationships between Bryant and a student.
When a child experiences trauma, they can be stripped of their ability to imagine. But imagination is colors. All the colors. Imagination is freedom and whatever you want it to be. But a child without imagination is not a child at all. Will you help defend our right to imagine? One for a rainbow, one for Amanda.
Who you playing with, sweetie?
Amanda.
Oh, who are you?
I'm Amanda. I'm 6, and I love unicorns.
Sexual predators are seeking kids online.
We don't know Amanda.
Learn how to report abuse at end-violence.org/protect.